The House will come to order. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 1937, an act relating to state government establishing a budget for the Department of Military Affairs. Message assigned Thomas S. Bahner, Secretary of the Senate. Newton moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 1937, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members of the House, and that the House requests that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
Representative Newton, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion.
Members, all those in favor of the Newton motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
A message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 2310, an act relating to state government, appropriating money for environment and natural resources. Message assigned Thomas S. Bahner, Secretary of the Senate. Hansen R. moves that the House refuse to concur in the Senate amendments to Senate File 2310, that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 5 members of the House, and that the House requests that a like committee be appointed by the Senate to confer on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses.
The member from Dakota, Representative Hansen, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion to refuse to concur for us to go to conference.
All those in favor of the Hansen motion, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the Senate refuses to concur in the House amendments to the following Senate file. Senate File Number 1955, an act relating to state government establishing a budget for the Department of Agriculture. The Senate respectfully requests that a conference committee be appointed. The Senate has appointed as such committee Senators Putnam, Kupek, Westrom. Message assigned Thomas S. Bahner, Secretary of the Senate. Vang moves that the House accede to the request of the Senate, and that the Speaker appoint a conference committee of 3 members of the House to meet with a like committee appointed by the Senate on the disagreeing votes of the 2 houses on Senate File 1955.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Vang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion. There are differences, and we'll be happy to work that out in conference.
All those in favor of the Vang motion, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Long from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bills to be placed on the calendar for the day for Tuesday, April 25th, 2023, and established as a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bills. Senate File Number 2934, House File Number 1403, Senate File Number 2909, and House File Number 447.
Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is House File 717. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 717, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to transportation, designating a segment of Mark Trunk Highway 5 in Chanhassen as Prince Roger Nelson Memorial Highway.
I recognize the member from Carver, Representative Rehm, to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members, dearly beloved. If you look on your desk, you will see that we are passing out sheets with information about Highway 5 that we are hoping to rename a portion of that. And this is the sign that we are looking at. We had several meetings with MnDOT. Jennifer Witt of MnDOT was great to work with, as well as the Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway Committee. We've had several conversations with the family of Augie Mueller. If you've heard the story, Highway 5, a 45-mile stretch of Highway 5 is named after the late Representative Augie Mueller, who served in this body. He was a representative for about 31 years, I believe. And I did speak with his nephew about this. Someone said that he was like Representative Frank Hornstein, very well regarded. He worked with farmers to work out all the kinks on Highway 5 when that was built. So we want to keep that highway in his name. But we were working to get a 7-mile stretch dedicated to Prince Rogers Nelson because he was such an important figure in Minnesota history and Chanhassen history. And it's a very special accommodation they made for us. Normally a sign like this is in brown, a background of brown with white lettering. But that didn't seem right for Prince to have a brown sign. So after a number of meetings, we were able to get MnDOT to agree to that. Super excited to be carrying this bill. There are a lot of people here dressed in purple, ready to celebrate, ready to party like it's 1999. I'll be short and sweet, but I will tell you, living in Chanhassen for the past 26 years and being a resident of Minnesota, I've heard a lot of stories about Prince, but one of my favorite stories was when I was working at the Chanhassen Library. One of the librarians there said she had gotten a call from a library down in Louisville, Kentucky. And they had called the library because they had received this check for $12,000 for their library down there. And it turns out that this library was the first library dedicated to African Americans. But they didn't know where the check came from. And it had an address. And let's see, it was from Love for One Another Charities on Audubon Road. So if you know Chanhassen, you will know that that's Paisley Park. So that check came from Prince. But Prince was very quiet about the gifts he gave. He was, he gave a lot of money out, but he was very quiet about it. He gave $10,000 to the local elementary school for their music education program. So anyway, lots of great stories, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more today as we celebrate. This is actually the 7-year anniversary of his passing, so a bit bittersweet. But happy to bring this bill forward. And I look forward to celebrating with you later. Thank you so much.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House Bill number 717.
Third reading. Any discussion to the bill? The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As, I guess, the senior member from Carver County, the folks in Carver County are looking forward to this. I think the people around the state are looking forward to this to pay tribute to a person that invested heavily in our culture here in the state of Minnesota and did a lot of really good things for the people. And as the representative said, very quietly. And I think this is a very nice way to honor Prince. Please vote green.
Any further discussion? The member from Ramsey, Representative Perez-Vega.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is with great honor we have in the state of the purple legendary Prince. 7 years today since his passing onto the afterlife. 7 was a remarkable number for Prince if you are a Prince fan. And I want to just really give special thanks to Representative Rehm for making this happen for the kids of Minnesota, the real kids of the purple reign of Minnesota who aspire to be musicians and activists and make sure that black and brown children had equity in our education system. He used to provide, yes, a lot of funding and secretly because he wasn't about himself. He was about the momentum of movement for all children to be great in this great state. Thank you to his family for being here, and thank you for his family of musicians for being here. This is for the kids, the real kids of Minnesota. Thank you.
The member from Dakota, Representative Hudella.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Super excited for this bill, members. It's a great bill. Yep, I'm a super fan of Prince. Growing up, being a teen in the 80s, you gotta be. But I think more importantly too, and Representative Rehm spoke to this, if you just look at the impact that this one man had, not only on Chanhassen and the Twin Cities in our state, but really nationally and globally. I had the good fortune of being at the Super Bowl when it was about Prince. I mean, that is global impact. And even if I wasn't a fan, this would be the right thing to do to honor that individual, rename this stretch. Somebody that came from our roots, came from Minnesota, that was able to aspire to that level of global impact was really cool. So thank you very much. hopefully a unanimous green vote today.
Any further discussion to the bill? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 121 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Representative Rehm, point of personal privilege.
I rise for a point of personal privilege. Thank you. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get signs on Highway 5, memorial signs, in law forever, and that's a mighty long time. But I'm here to tell you, there's something else. They'll be purple, a 7-mile highway of remembrance. You can always see the signs, day or night. So when you vote aye on this bill, legislators, and you know it's right, everything will be all right. Instead of asking me how much money it will cost, ask me how important this is. Because in this body, things can get real hard to get into statute. On this vote, you're on your own. And if that red button tried to draw your finger down, I'm glad you went crazy and pushed green. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3100. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3100, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to retirement, the first engrossment.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Herr, to your bill.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Today we are hearing House File 3100. This is the pension omnibus bill. And before I go into just talking a little bit about what this bill does, I want to just say a couple of thank yous. I want to first thank the committee members, our senior member, Representative Nelson, Representative Wolgamott, Representative Chan, Representative Berg. I want to thank the members from the other body, Vice Chair Frantz, Senator Pappas, Senator Murphy, Senator Seeberger, Senator Nelson, Senator Howe, and Senator Rasmussen. But a really special thank you to our GOP members on the House side here, Representative O'Driscoll and Representative Nadeau. And I want to especially call them out because this is a bipartisan, bicameral commission that does really important work. And Representative O'Driscoll, thank you for sharing your knowledge and advice with me. You have been with me every step of the way, sharing all of the information that you have to ensure that you modeled what it meant to have good bipartisan work together and what that looks like, and I appreciate you for that. Representative Nadeau, you are amazingly curious. You show up ready to do the work. Pensions is really technical, and it's not the fun work that we get to do here, fighting for certain values or things we think we're fighting for Minnesotans for, but you dug in and you looked at all the technical pieces of it and asked really thoughtful questions every commission hearing. And I want to thank you for that, because your engagement gave me the motivation to keep doing the best job that I possibly could. So thank you both so much. And I couldn't finish saying thank you, and I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to also say thank you to staff, and I'm going to leave somebody very special to the end. Thank you to our nonpartisan staff, Susan Luncheski and Lisa Deslin. They made me look so good. Everyone said to me I had a great run pension commission. The truth is they were the ones who made our pensions commission run really well. Also to our partisan staff, John Beeler, my CA, Nick Stumo-Langer, who I could not have done this without him. He is just a wealth of knowledge. I was like, Nick, how long have you studied pensions and finance? And he said, just when I started working with you. And so someone who can pick up that expertise in that short time is just invaluable. Thank you, Nick. And then also Senate staff, Ryan Majerus, who just was with us, continually ensuring that the Senate was in lockstep. But I also want to just say thank you to Speaker Hortman. Your belief in my vision, I could never have imagined that buy-in would be so quick. That when I came to you and said, I don't want to be chair unless we do these certain things, and you didn't even hesitate to say yes. And for all of you who may not know this story, when Speaker Hortman asked me to chair pensions, I had said, well, I will only do it if we consider these specific things. I said I needed a CA, and she gave me a great CA. I said I needed people to be appointed to the commission early so that we can meet regularly. We needed regularly dedicated time, which we got 8:30 in the morning on Mondays. So exciting. And also that we needed a big target, because there was a lot of important work to do, and the speaker said absolutely. And that without her leadership and her vision of what this commission could do, we would not have been able to put the pension plan the pension omnibus bill that we did that is in front of all of you today. So thank you, Speaker Hortman, for believing in that vision and letting us do this work. What is in this bill? So when I said that we got the biggest investment we've ever received in pensions, that is, though it's one-time investment in our state pensions, it is the biggest, and that was $600 million. And with that $600 million, we were able to put money into COLA increases, $71 million for our coordinated members, $17 million for COLAs for basic members, and then we also were able to put benefits in for our active members, $34 million for buying down employee contributions and plans, $8 million for buy down for St. Paul teachers, and the modified rule of 90. We have benefits for the plan as a whole, $345 million in direct state aid to fund the plans. This improves Minnesotans' interaction with benefits from the retirement programs and allows us to ensure that their plans remain healthy and strong. We did a lot of really great work in this, and we allocated money more than we ever have for certain groups. Senator Rasmussen came to me with a wonderful plan about how we were going to encourage independent small firefighter groups to join the larger plans, because one, they were overfunded and they didn't know how to manage these plans in a way. It's not that they didn't know. I would say they all worked really hard, but it's that when you're a smaller plan, you can't build on ensuring that everybody has the best, maximize their benefits. And the plan that we put together, $5 million of that, will go into allowing the smallest firefighter plans in order to be a part of the larger ones to get better benefits. And so there is a lot of really great work in this plan. There is a lot of bipartisan support. This bill passed out unanimously from the Pension Commission with support from both senators and representatives and those who are Republicans or Democrats. The pieces that we had agreements on are all in this bill. And so with that, Madam Speaker, I would just ask that our body vote for this bill, and we have other speakers here today that would like to speak to it.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3100.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The member from Dakota, Representative Berg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With my nearly 2 decades in the labor movement, it should come as no surprise that working families are my passion. From ensuring worker safety on the job site, to fighting for a livable wage and the right to collectively bargain, and fiercely protecting what our workers have earned through their life's work. And that's really why I've wanted to serve on the Pension Commission for 2 terms. Not because I understand in depth the policy, I'm so glad that Chair Hurd does, but because our workers deserve to have everything they earned over a lifetime of hard work protected and ready for them when they finally leave the workforce. I want to thank Chair Herr for her incredible leadership and patience for all the questions I asked behind the scenes. Thank you for centering our workers in every discussion and every decision made. Thank you to everyone on our side of the table. Representative O'Driscoll and Representative Nelson's wealth of knowledge and experience helped put the pieces together of a very complicated puzzle. I also want to thank, I suppose, the members of the other body that helped craft what I think is an incredible bill for our workers. So I just want to thank everyone that was a part of crafting this bill. It wasn't easy. We didn't make everyone happy, but under Chair Herr's incredible leadership, we have a bill that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
The member from Stearns, Representative O'Driscoll.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I have served on the Pension Commission ever since I've come to the legislature. And my story is I've been a pension geek since I was in high school. My parents are both involved in public employment and were involved in this thing called PERA. My dad was in police and fire. My mom was in the PERA general plan. And I became kind of intrigued by what are those plans, how do they work? And I was questioning my parents, and they said, we get this literature in the mail about every quarter. We're going to give it to you. You read it, and you tell us what this is all about. And so I've always had an affinity for what I consider doing the right thing when it comes to public pensions. And we don't always have a smooth road ahead of us when it comes to these kinds of things. We also know that we're dealing with people in their retirements as we're moving forward. And I've enjoyed working with you, Chair Herr, and I appreciate your open door policy and allowing me to share some of my experiences and the wisdom that I have, as well as some of the things to avoid and the pitfalls of how to do this job. And you've been very open to that. And so I appreciate that. The other part of this is we are being able to buy down unfunded liabilities and pensions in the state of Minnesota. And we're going to go from 7.5% to 7% as our anticipated return. And if you're still tuned in with me after that wonky little, finance part of this, that's extremely important to the state of Minnesota. It helps us to ensure that when the state of Minnesota goes and does business, and the folks from MMB go out to New York and they talk about selling bonds, that Minnesota stands head and shoulders above other states with financial and fiscal responsibility. A AAA credit rating is something that I have worked very hard on pensions to preserve, and we continue to enjoy that. And with this bill, if we pass it here today and the governor signs it, we'll continue on that path for meeting our obligations for folks here in the state of Minnesota who are involved in our public pensions, and it will also help preserve the credit rating here in the state of Minnesota, both of which are important to me. Madam Speaker, and members, I recommend a yes vote this afternoon on House File 3100.
Any further discussion? The member from Ramsey, Representative Herr.
Madam Speaker, I would just echo our Representative O'Driscoll's point is that this is a really good bill, and I do ask for everyone's green vote on this, and also to just state, as Representative Berg did, that we did get the largest target ever, but we couldn't do everything that we wanted to do, and we want our teachers to know we hear you, we've heard you, that we will continue to look for ways in which we can better the pension plans. We've heard from our firefighters, from our police officers, from those in corrections. We've heard from those who are on basic plans, those who no longer have very basic benefits. We heard from all of you, and that we continue to want to do right by everyone, because we know that the work that you did for our state, what you sacrificed to take less pay in order to have a pension when you're retired, that all matters to us. And so I am committed and continue to be committed, and I know this body is as well, for us to honor all of your voices and to continue this work even after we've passed this bill today. So thank you, Madam Speaker, and I ask for a green vote.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. Engen votes aye. There being 120 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 2950. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 2950, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to retirement, the first engrossment.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Herr.
Madam Speaker, House File 2950 is the policy piece of the omnibus pension bill, and I just want to highlight some of the provisions in this. This was truly a bipartisan bill. We have actually we have more Republican bills language in this bill than we do Democrats, and that's how we know that it was a lot of great compromise and work in order to get this bill through. I want to just highlight Representative Wogelmann's the administrative changes to MSRS, PARA, and TRA. Representative Anderson's para-defined contribution plan expanded to local officials. Senator Rasmussen's same-sex survivor designee allowed. This was a really important bill for us because it allowed same-sex partners in order to designate each other as the beneficiaries, and that was long overdue. Senator Howe's extended time period for purchase of military service with para. Representative Nelson's employer contribution limits raised for IUOE multi-employer plans. Representative Franzen's modifying service continued to be determined for vesting for firefighters in the SVF plan. Representative Hadella's simplified requirements for relief associations after joining the SVF plan. Representative Nelson's state auditor's recommendation for volunteer firefighters. Representative Robbins and Senator Limmer's mid-year coverage for Hamel and Loretto firefighters in the SVF plan. Representative Wogelmann's 2 individual transfers for para-general to para, and that's a technical change that was made for that. And then Representative Olson and Seebergers, who had specific provisions in order for individuals who are impacted by this. One was for Representative Olson, the Fond du Lac Tribal Community College allowed to elect TRA for coverage, and Senator Seeberger's Minnesota State employee permitted for you to be able to elect TRA coverage. And so there's a lot of really great provisions in this bill. We actually looked across the state and said, what do we need to fix and what do we need to bring forward in order to ensure that those who have been excluded potentially and omitted from being able to participate get the opportunity to do so. This is a really good bill, and I ask for the body support.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 2950.
Third reading. The member from Dakota, Representative Berg.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm pretty sure I already said what I had to say. Thank you.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Nadeau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, thank you. I rise in support of this bill, and I want to publicly thank the chair for her gracious tolerance of my curiosity. I do like to get engaged as much as possible. I think like every bill, and I've said this probably every time I stand up, it's all about trying to find that balance in my world. With what we vote on, what we look for, and I think within the targets, I think Representative Herr and the whole commission did a really good job. Do I think the targets were too small? Yeah, I do. I think that what it showed me is that we have a good start to something. We left a lot of people on the wayside on this one. We did some really good things. We got, our police and fire, they got a 4% one time. We basically bought down liabilities for our general fund by $350 million. Really, really good work. But it shows that we've got a lot of work to do in the future because our teachers are struggling, and every one of us have seen that this year. I tried to have an amendment a few days ago that I thought maybe we could move some more money to Chair Herr's area, but it was unsuccessful, Madam Speaker. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. So I want to thank you for putting a good bill out there, allowing me to participate as much as possible, and I recommend everyone vote for this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion? The member from Ramsey, Representative Herr.
Madam Speaker, I don't know what the technical term is, but I think somebody else might have wanted to speak. Representative Nelson, is he here? Maybe not. All right, that's okay then. Then I'm just going to ask everybody for a green vote. Thank you so much for the opportunity to get to work on pensions, and I just ask for your support of the bill.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 122 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 24. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 24, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to capital investment, the third engrossment.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Jordan, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good afternoon, members. Today is a good day because today we have the opportunity to pass House File 24, which will protect Minnesotans from exposure to lead in their drinking water through service lines. And members, this is fundamentally a bill to protect Minnesota from exposure to lead. And if there's one takeaway I again want us to walk away from today, it's that no amount of exposure to lead is safe, not one bit. And when a person swallows or breathes in lead particles, the body stores the toxin in the blood, bones, and tissues where it accumulates over time. Lead is particularly harmful to children, which causes a reduced IQ, affecting language development and attention span, and increasing aggression and impulsivity. In addition, prolonged exposure for both children and adults can damage the brain and nervous system, reduce fertility, and increase the risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, and cancer. And lead service lines are one of the largest sources of lead in Minnesota's drinking water, and often lead service lines are both publicly and privately owned. Both parts of the line must be replaced simultaneously to avoid increasing lead concentration in our drinking water. Members, lead exposure to drinking water is a statewide issue. It's an issue present across Minnesota in all of our communities, urban, suburban, and rural. Lead exposure through service lines is most common in lower income communities, and many cities and townships do not have a comprehensive map of their lead lines. We heard testimonies from the mayors of Pipestone, Granite Falls, International Falls, and St. Paul asking for this bill to serve their residents. This bill is critical not only for the health and safety of our constituents and their drinking water, but it's critical that we pass this bill now to maximize federal funding provided by the bipartisan infrastructure law Congress passed in 2021, or the IIJA, and to provide the technical assistance Minnesota communities need to be in compliance with the federal rulemaking through the revised EPA lead and copper rule. This bill will unlock federal funding for lead service line replacement. Minnesota will receive an additional $215 million over the course of the next 5 years in federal funding. This bill makes sense. It will help Minnesotans, and we would be hard-pressed to find a better time to act than now. Madam Speaker and members, this bill also does not meet the full need of our state when it comes to replacing our lead service lines, but it is a good start. It's a good bill, and I'm thankful to everyone who helped make it better on both sides of the aisle, and I look forward to discussing it more.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Jordan moves to amend House File number 24, the third engrossment. The amendment is coded A12.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Jordan, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. I want to give a special thank you, even though he's not on the floor, to Representative Garofalo for helping with this amendment and pointing out some of the needs with it, the necessity for it in Ways and Means the other day. This is a pretty simple amendment. It just deletes the word municipalities for the mapping grants to be delivered by MDH and inserts eligible recipients as defined under subdivision 3 to make sure that everyone who is operating a public water system in Minnesota has access to the mapping grant money.
Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
House File Number 24, third reading, as amended.
Third reading as amended. The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I think this is an important bill. It addresses a serious problem in the state of Minnesota. We talked about it in the Capital Investment Committee and authorized general fund dollars for it. It's geographically balanced. I urge support.
Further discussion. The member from Anoka, Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'm wondering if Representative Jordan, if you could repeat those side effects again of lead. She rattled through them really quick, and I didn't catch all of them. If she wouldn't mind yielding for a moment to do that.
She will
Madam
yield.
Speaker.
Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Scott. One of the common questions my parents get is, how can you understand a word she says? She talks so dang fast. But this is not a comprehensive list of the side effects from exposure to lead. People are exposed to lead when they drink water or eat pasta that was boiled in water or take a shower and it gets in through the skin. But the body stores the toxin in blood, bones, tissue, and it accumulates. So the more lead you're exposed to over time, the more the lead will build up in your body, leading to more adverse health outcomes. It can be harmful to children, causing a reduced IQ. It can affect language development, attention span. It can have effects on impulsivity, aggression, ability to pay attention. There is damage to brains and nervous system, a reduction in fertility, risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, cancer. There are also psychological effects associated with like aggression or ability to pay attention that has lots of impacts on how children are able to show up and learn in schools. So there's many, many needs. We talk about children a lot because they're smaller and lead impacts them more. It is also, we talk about children a lot because that is where the testing is done to ensure to check on the elevated levels of blood in a bloodstream or a person's body.
The member from Anoka, Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Jordan. That was just all I really arose for. I just wanted to hear that again. Thank you.
Any further discussion to the bill? The member from Hennepin, Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. I'm always happy to talk about lead and the need to get it out of our infrastructure. And remember that there is no amount of exposure to lead that is safe for humans. No amount. We are drinking it. It's making us sick. It's making our children sick. And we can do something about that today with a green vote. This bill starts this work of helping communities throughout Minnesota, and passing this means that we can unlock that federal funding, but you will have to hear from me more about lead because we will not address the entirety of the problem. I want to thank everyone who helped with this bill, whether you are an environmental advocate from MEP or Conservation Minnesota, whether you are someone who wants to get people to work at LIUNA or the 49ers or any of the other building trades, or whether you are from the League of Cities or CGMC advocating for communities across our state. Thank you for making this bill better. I think this is the bill that both my party and my side of the aisle can agree on today. It's a good bill, and I urge support.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 123 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 1510. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 1510, number 5 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to public safety, the first engrossment.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Moller, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is a Department of Public Safety policy bill. It combines a couple of different bills that the department had this year, and I'll just touch some of the highlights of this bill. It has a bill that contained within it that modernizes terminology related to victims of domestic abuse. It allows the Department of Public Safety to accept non-federal grants or donations. It has clarifying changes to the Minnesota Hazardous Materials Incident Response Act. It has a process for people whose names have been mistakenly associated with criminal records of another. It has some technical changes for the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. It closes a loophole in the crime of computer theft, and it has some victim rights statutes clarifying language. That's what this bill does, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Novotny moves to amend House File Number 1510, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A4.
The member from Sherburne, Representative Novotny, to your amendment.
Thank you, Speaker Hortman, and thank you, Chair Moller, for working with me on this bill and the amendment. The amendment is just a collaboration between myself and Chair Moller, our staff, and the people at the Department of Public Safety, and getting the language that works best and is best clarification for the money that will be donated. This is a friendly amendment, I believe, and ask for a green vote.
Representative Moller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Lead Novotny. You are right, this is a friendly amendment. You raised a really good point in committee when we heard this bill, and we were glad to work with you and make this change. So I encourage members to vote yes.
All those in favor of the Novotny amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 1510, as amended.
Third reading as amended. Discussion to the bill. The clerk will take the roll on, the member from Sherburne, Representative Novotny.
It's a good bill, Madam Speaker, and yes, vote green.
All right. The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 123 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed. The bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 1960. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 1960, number 6 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to emergency management.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Bahner, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. The bill before you today is both bicameral and bipartisan. And I want to say a special thank you to Representatives Nash, Elkins, Senator Wicklund, Coran, and Lucero, who've supported the bill in previous cycles, and for the full support of the IT caucus membership. I especially want to acknowledge tonight Representative Nash, who was actually responsible for an earlier draft of this bill, and for his unwavering support, guidance, and his hard work, which helped form the foundation of our work with Minute, Commissioner Tomes, Deputy Commissioner Eichten, and our Chief Security Information Officer. I also want to specifically thank the hardworking folks at Minute, including Brandon Hirsch and Mr. Matt Gehring in House Research, for the tireless work to carefully review each and every word with utmost care, answer countless questions, and be sure we got it right. The bill before you is the recommendation of the Technical Advisory Council, or the TAC, from 2020. It represents a united front on technology concerns. It is also currently supported by Homeland Security and the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. Think of this bill as IT security and cybersecurity for the state of Minnesota, like national security on a digital level. This bill is simple It designates IT infrastructure as critical infrastructure in the event of a cyber attack. This distinction provides two main advantages. It allows the state to nimbly handle these issues, and it would make us eligible, and it would make us eligible for federal disaster relief funding to recover should an attack occur. The intent is to be laser focused on the preservation of infrastructure assets, the benefits our state and our citizens in the event of a cyber attack. The question is, members, why act now? First, our reliance on technology to deliver state services continues to grow, and our world continues to become more interconnected. Technology has the power to bring government services to the people we serve in a meaningful way. It has the power to make government that works for our citizens. But with great opportunity comes great risk. The second most powerful reason to act right now is escalation. We see cybersecurity attacks are on the rise. Locally, you may have heard of attacks that shut down our schools just within the last few weeks. At home, we witnessed the hacking of the Senate website. JBS, the second largest meat processing company in the state, was forced to shut down in Worthington. For Minnesotans, it meant meat shortages and higher prices to their wallets. Nationally, the Colonial Pipeline shutdown raised gas prices. Major cities like Atlanta were crippled and unable to deliver city services, costing millions in cleanup and remediation. The Virginia legislature had a ransomware attack that was perfectly timed exactly 1 month before session to inflict maximum disruption to the state and to lawmakers. Third, on the world stage, states have received warnings from the FBI and Homeland Security, alerting them that the state-sponsored hackers in places like Russia have openly threatened to target all who oppose them or the conflict in Ukraine. They are but one bad actor on a very long list. In the event of a cyber attack, members, we must act swiftly and without hesitation. As legislators, we have a duty to our citizens and to our state. We must lead now and not wait for disaster to strike. And with that, members, the time to act is now. I'm going to ask you to please vote green today. And with that, I'm going to defer to my partner, Representative Nash, for some other critical information.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 1960.
Third reading. The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Bahner, and to all that have helped in this. This was a bill that I first drafted in 2017, and when I brought it to people, they were confused, and they threw me out of their office, as they did for a long time when we talked cybersecurity. But as we began seeing more and more instances of very large-scale cyber attacks in the world and here in the state of Minnesota, people began realizing that this is not just a Nerdfest 2.0. This is an actual problem that we have to think ahead of the situation and prepare our state to react to it. Now, Representative Bahner mentioned that we need to be able to nimbly react to a potential attack. What that means is we need people who can be force multipliers. And for those military members here in the audience or in the chamber, you know that basically you need more bodies who are very well prepared to come and help solve the problem. We don't always necessarily have that based on how things are written in current law, so this will change it so that we can reach out to outside groups, security operations folks. We can work with the National Guard. We can seek federal help because the critical infrastructure nature of the electronic backbone of our state has so much going on. There's many, many things that interact with the state and counties and cities and all sorts of things that we need to be able to protect. So I will ask the author to yield to one question for clarification, though, Madam Chair.
She will yield. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Representative Bahner, we did talk about this earlier. There are sometimes concerns on my side of the aisle as it relates to a declaration of emergency. And I just want to make sure that folks who are either listening or will read about this or are here in the chamber, this is not similar to a prior state of emergency that we had, so that we would not see things like the shutdown of churches or restaurants or things like that. Am I correct in that statement?
Representative Bahner.
Thank you, Representative Nash. That is 100% correct. I think what we need to make very clear and abundantly clear about this bill is that when we talk about the safety and security of our state, of our infrastructure, what we're talking about is the ability to deliver services that are the core function of government. Making sure that folks can do things like buying their fishing licenses, registering their businesses or their licensing, to do basic core functions, to be able to access nutrition if their family needs it. These are core services that we do as a government, and we want to ensure that, as well as the safety and integrity of the data of every citizen of our state, and that is what this bill is designed to do.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I have said a number of times, nerds will eventually make the decisions. And this is an important aspect of what we do, not just for the state, but in relation to the citizens of the state, because so much goes through the state, but also for counties and cities and other things. Members, this is a good bill, and this is the first in the nation to do this. So when we first introduced this, the National Association of State CIOs got very, very excited because they recognize, as the other 49 states recognize, that this is becoming more and more of an issue. So I do ask for your support for the bill. Members, vote green.
Further discussion. Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 122 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we'll take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
Stevenson moves that House File Number 2369 be recalled from the Committee on Labor and Industry, Finance and Policy and be re-referred to the Committee on Commerce, Finance and Policy. Did you get yours? Oh, there he is.
The member from Anoka, Representative Stevenson, to-year motion to recall House File 2369 from the Committee on Labor and Industry and be re-referred to the Committee on Commerce, Finance and Policy. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion, and this bill relates to regulation of certain transportation companies like Uber and Lyft. It needs to be heard in the Commerce Committee. We are having a hearing next week, and I've spoken with the authors and the chairs.
All those in favor of the Stevenson motion, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Announcements. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Monday, April 24th, 2023.
Representative Long moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11:30 a.m. Monday, April 24th, 2023. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Long moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Monday, April 24th, 2023.